What's up, everyone? I'm Stacy Paulson with Creating a Beautiful Life podcast. I'm jumping on today as the second of 3 podcasts of things that I've learned over the weekend. And today I want to share with you a sin that we all make and how to avoid it. My name is Stacy Paulson. I'm part of a group of high-achieving women you've probably never heard of. We don't rely on social influencers, big brands, or the media to define a meaningful life. We have knowledge and experiences that transform people's lives. Because we're not blind to the big brands, the latest fads, and marketing gimmicks, we do things differently. We advocate real connections, healthy lifestyle choices, and personal empowerment. We care about growing ourselves so we can contribute to the growth and beautiful life of others. We are Beautiful Life Influencers. So over the weekend, actually on Friday, I talked to one of my business partners, Adrienne, and we had a great conversation. And part of this conversation, she had brought up this book that she had read and recommended it. And so I needed something new to listen to as I go out on my runs. I love listening to things during my runs. It also helps motivate me. If I know that I have something really exciting that I want to listen to or something that I'm learning, that is an added motivation to go out and do it, because it gives me that time where I'm with those things in my ears and I don't have distractions from work or family. I can just be very present in listening to what's going on that and get my run in, which I love also. So this book that she recommended is called Barking Up the Choir by Gregory Boyle. I hope I have his name right. Barking Up the Choir by Gregory Boyle, and it's the power of kinship. There's something else to that, of radical kinship, the power of radical kinship. And so I was listening to this book and I don't know what's going on outside. If you can hear that, let it pass. So I was listening to the book and I didn't totally know what it was about. Just Adrienne recommended it, I'm gonna read it or listen to it. So basically what it's about is this priest, who I think he's a Catholic priest or Jesuit, I don't know. And he's in LA, and he's created the largest gang rehabilitation center in the world. And so he's telling a lot of how this has happened and some of the stories, and it's incredible. I recommend anyone reading it, except if you're thinking about the area that he lives in and what his life is taken up by, that there are some very awful experiences that he shares, and also there is some language that's I wouldn't let my kids listen to type thing. So it's in my ear pods. Oftentimes when I listen to books, if I'm getting ready, I'll just let my whole family listen to it. This is not one that my little kids are listening to just because of some of the language in there. Normally I don't swear or listen to that kind of stuff, but I have been so impacted by this book. And I just want to share one of the stories that he shares and get back to this idea of something that most of us do on a regular basis that causes damage not only to others but to ourselves, and how we can avoid it. So he's sharing this story of a gang member who had gotten out of jail and was going through this rehabilitation. And it's in LA, and you might have heard of it, but they have a restaurant, they serve people. There's just these different things that he's put together that these gang members can come and be a part of. They can earn income while they're trying to get clean off of drugs and do different things. So he was with this guy. He had gotten out of jail and was being rehabilitated. And also they get these opportunities if they want to go speak. So he was going and he was sharing his experience at this event, and he was encouraged by this priest, Gregory, and they call him G, to just share like his experience, but also someone who has mentored him. And so he was talking about when he was young, he remembers growing up with his mom, and they lived in a nice house, had a great life, but then I can't remember if she lost her job, but something happened to where they didn't have a home anymore and they wanted to go restart their lives. And so they moved from the state that they were in to Los Angeles. And he remembers as a young child that they just kept moving. So it started, they had a nice house, and then it got to be a smaller house, and then an even smaller house, and then it was an apartment, and then an even smaller apartment, and then it was to hotels, and then it was homeless. And so that was his life. So that, that's kind of what he remembers about it. And he remembers one day he was there with his moms. They were living on the streets, and he saw a school bus and kids were being picked up to go to school, and he really wanted to go to school. And his mom said, if you get on that school bus, we won't be here when you get back. And so he didn't get on the school bus, but he followed the school bus all the way to the school. And he found out that you can't enroll in school unless you have a parent with you. So he wasn't able to enroll in school, but he went back to go find his mom and his family, and they were gone, and he couldn't find them. And he realized that he was on his own and homeless and 7 years old. So for over a year, he lived on the streets by himself as a homeless child until he got picked up by the system, went into foster care. He lived with many abusive foster parents who oftentimes would come in the middle of the night and just come and beat on him for no apparent reason. And so this is what he grew up in, eventually getting out of the system, but then going to jail. He was in jail for like 7 years. And that was his life. And he was tattooed from like head to toe. He was just a big tattoo, part of a gang. If you look at him, you would definitely make judgments. And he went into this event and he was speaking to these people, and probably very apparent that most of us would judge this person, gang member, tattooed from head to toe, make some very clear judgments about the type of person he is. And often we do that, right? And so that's the sin that I'm thinking about, that I often do, is I will make these judgments about people by either their appearance or maybe their actions, that I make these judgments, and it might not be the best thing or the correct thing to do. So anyway, he goes on to share, he's supposed to be sharing about one of his mentors. So he picked out a mentor, and he said, this mentor was a kid that lived next door to him when he was 6 years old. And he was probably about 16 years old, his mentor. And this mentor, he just took him in. He taught him, stay away from gangs, make sure you go to school, don't do drugs, walk on this side of the street, don't say that, don't hang out with these people. He guided this kid because he wanted him to grow up to be successful. The 16-year-old talked about how, okay, I'm going to be going to school. I go to school every day. I'm going to graduate from high school. You're going to graduate from high school. I'm going to college. You're going to college. I'm going to go to medical school, and I'm going to be a doctor, and I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to be your dad. I'm going to help you to do those things. And so this 16-year-old teenager was helping support this 6-year-old who he knew didn't have a father there present. He took him in and was trying to help him to be safe and make wise choices and decisions. He said one day he was with his 16-year-old friends, and they were walking down the street. And the gang that this kid told him to not talk to, not be a part of, walk on the other side of the street, this gang started talking to them and yelling at them. And the 16-year-old was just kind of like flailing him off, like, just ignore him, let's just keep going. And they crossed the street and they started shooting. And the 6-year-old said, when he was 6, that brains splattered all over me. And I remember him lying there with no one helping until he died. And so that was one of the experiences that he went through prior to becoming homeless and going through all these other experiences that really changed his life. And the priest, G, who wrote the book, was talking about how he was in this event and how he could see the shift in people's judgment towards this gang member who was talking because they had a greater understanding of where he came from. And so that's really impactful to me, and realizing that oftentimes I will make these judgments about people, their actions, their intentions, without knowing what's going on. And so that's something that I'm trying to practice and get better at, is withholding judgment or giving the benefit of the doubt. And especially when I don't know, And if I can't find out, like if you're in a place where you can't ask questions and find out more about people, or what's the situation, or why did you hit your brother, or why did you do that in school, or if you work on a team with a team of people. In my business, I work with a lot of people that I mentor, and it would be easy to make judgments about things that they do. And so it's trying to pull myself back and realize that I don't understand all of the working pieces. And that if I could have this desire to seek understanding and move forward in trying to understand and withholding judgment, that it really creates a better space for me, better energy with my team and my family. And it helps to open the door to progress, to moving forward. And so that's my lesson today, is that we have opportunities to withhold judgment and to seek out understanding. I love Stephen R. Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. One of those habits is to seek understanding. And so that's what I encourage you to do. And even about yourself, because oftentimes we judge ourselves. We judge ourselves harder than probably anybody else on the planet. When we don't succeed, when we do something wrong, whatever it is, that we're often our worst critic, our hardest judge. And so this applies to ourselves, and I'm trying to work that on myself, is withholding judgment and trying to understand, well, why did I do that? Or why have I been struggling with this? Or why do I lose my temper? Or whatever it is, what can be behind that, so that I can have more grace for myself, more compassion for myself. And when I can have that for myself, I find that it's easier for me to have that for other people. So that's the lesson today. Take it, run with it. Would love to hear from you. Comment on the podcast. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions and experiences. Would you like to see more behind the scenes action? Sneak an unfiltered peek when you follow me on Instagram, #StacyPaulsonHQ. You can also get your free Health Hacker Masterclass at healthhackersecrets.com to learn how you can create a beautiful and healthy life you love by becoming a health hacker. Or check out wellnessbusinesssecrets.com to see how you can partner with me to create your own 6-figure wellness business, helping others transform their lives.